Welcome to the most overrated, underappreciated, most viewed, underviewed podcast of all time. Welcome to the Prince of Fresh Air. This is your host, the most charismatic man in entertainment, and I have a special guest. Can be seen everywhere from Luke Cage, Blue Bloods, Bull, fellow Incoherence actor, but with a much bigger part in involvement. Jeff Auer, how you doing, man?
What's up, Percy? Incoherent super fan. I love it.
Oh, absolutely.
That's your IMDb. That's your IMDb pick.
Yeah. How's COVID treating you? How's the current shutdown and stuff going for you?
It's grueling, man. Right? It's messes with your mind after a while. The in, the out, the in, the net. It's just it. With the vaccines now, the end is near. But man, it's taken some mental strength a little bit to get through this. It's been long, right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, we're going to get more into that because COVID has been just interesting. But
Sure.
before we get into all that, COVID and everything else, let's take it from the beginning. So, like I said, you have your experienced actor, working actor, done some tremendous stuff. Just take me back a little bit. So, how did you get into acting, and how has the journey been for you?
I got into acting late. I didn't start till I was 27, 26, 27. I think I took a class. Yeah, I started taking class when I was like 26.
Oh
So,
wow.
yeah. But all through sort of growing up, I did sort of performy type things. I used to, in the church, I was like the school masses. I went to a Catholic school for 12 years. I was the guy who did like the Lord's Prayer. Like read after me. The Lord is my shepherd. There's nothing I shall want. Like that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. I always got to think of that. I did some comedy skits in high school and college, and then after college, I was a DJ in London for 6 months at this tourist trap American diner. So I did some, and then I did a little stand. I've tried stand up a few times. I was sort of searching, and then I
Okay.
landed on it. I realized that I took a class, and after doing the scene in class, I'm like, I'm in. I'm all in.
Uh Man,
Yeah, that's what started.
it's crazy. It's interesting you said that because I was actually talking to Jared, the
Right.
director for the Incoherence, and I was talking about that. I think it's very important for actors to kind of diverse your brand and yourself because for you, your journey wasn't just strictly acting. You tried all different avenues, and I think that's very important. And even with you trying every different thing, you still find your passion and you made a career out of it. So it. I think for a lot of people, if anything they take away from what you just said is be open minded. Don't be so gung ho about one specific thing.
Right, but if,
Um,
if you're going to do it, the thing I learned, and I learned this from bartending in the city before I was an actor, and then while in the early days as an actor, and I would see people that would say, "Oh, I'm a writer, I'm a filmmaker, I'm a musician," and they weren't doing shit.
oh,
So that was a good lesson because I was kind of in those years where I was searching for it, I was kind of lost. I really did, other people, I other friends were much more farther along in their careers. And so I just said I don't want to be that. Like if you're going to do it, you got to do it hard.
absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, I'm sure you've met people like that before.
I we're gonna talk about. I can talk about that all day.
But it
um,
makes you think. Like, don't be like that person. Don't say it if you're not going to do it.
100%. I mean, I live in LA now, so
Right.
I mean, I see it so much. It's absolutely insane. Everybody's an actor, but they're not doing any classes, not doing any gigs, don't have a reel or resume. I'm like, what are we doing here? But
Right.
I digress. Let's keep it on you though. For this time being. Um, so one of the questions I have for you was, for a lot of people who haven't experienced this, to go from the incoherence, and I know you did a lot of stuff before the incoherence, but was there any major difference from going from the incoherence to doing like the bull and bigger TV shows?
Well, I'll tell you, dude. Working on the incoherence made me better, and then I started booking more, having done the incoherence. Like you don't get to. Let's face it, you don't get to act that much. Like you're constantly trying to find ways to act, and if you don't get to do it for a little bit, if you're not in class, and I've been in class because I have kids, and it's kind of hard.
Right.
Um, get a little stale. But being, doing that movie for, whatever over the 5 months that we did, like you get a bit of a groove, you start to realize how to work with the camera more. And then right after that, I kind of got a little booking streak. It was nice. So just the real difference is the stress of making the movie was insane. But when you get hired for a TV show, you're just so happy to be there. There's no worries. You get all this food in front of you. You
Yeah.
just what you got to do. So yeah, that's the big difference. But the thrill of doing it is still the same. In both is the same, obviously.
Absolutely. I think there's a big misconception with acting. And this is going to lead into my next question because I was talking to somebody about this who aren't involved. And people think that acting is so easy. You can just pick up and do it and you can just book work right out the gate. And I think it's at some point, especially where your level is and where I'm reaching now, it's not as easy. I mean, when you audition for these big TV shows, big movies, this thousands of people, excluding the celebrities that also audition for these roles. So a lot of times you're not booking work as much as you want. So it's just constant audition, 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 fail, fail, rejection, rejection. And I don't think people really understand that concept.
You got to
And
have thick skin. Super
absolutely.
thick skin. You get your ass kicked constantly.
Now, now this is going to lead me to my next question. A lot of people, especially the ones that move to LA, have this idea that Hollywood is all about the lights, the camera, the action, the glamour, the glory. Do you think that's an accurate representation?
I mean, it shouldn't be. The more I used to do basement theater. No, not basement theater, but like off Broadway theater. I did it for 15 years. And sometimes you'd have a great crowd. Sometimes there'd be two people there.
Right.
And but you do it for the love of it. And I stopped doing it because I had kids, and I was like, I got it. This is taking up, to do a play for free for 2 or 3 months or for little no money became almost. I'd have to bring my kids into 34th Street, drop them with my wife. She'd bring them back. At that time, they were like 6 and 4, or whatever. And then I go to rehearsal. So it was a hustle. But
Right.
now that I've had a little bit more TV and film success, I'm dying to go back to the theater. Like I'm ready to do it in front of two people. I don't care. Like I miss the action. I'm so sick of being home. Like if I would do a 3-week thing for 4 people, I don't even care. And I just want to do it,
Absolutely.
just want to do it. And maybe that's I guess I got sidetracked, but I guess that's the difference. I don't really know the LA scene. I really don't know many actors out there. The only actors I know out there are from New York. I have good friends out there that are not in the business or do different things. So, they're obviously a lot more grounded in their life. But maybe that's the difference, because I don't really know the LA scene that much. But that's the rep that they get, right? It's a lot of sort of people are there for the fame and the glory, not for the craft, I guess, or not for the love of it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm from New York, born and raised too, and it's
By the way, I
I
was born in the Bronx. My whole family's from the Bronx.
oh yeah, that's right. I think we talked about it on the
Yeah.
inheritance because I was living in the Bronx. My mom still lives there, and like
Is that where you grew up?
I grew up in Manhattan, and then I
Oh, you did?
moved to So I basically spent more time in the Bronx, but I still grew up in Manhattan. So
What was your neighborhood?
I grew up in 103rd Street by 96th Street, right on the west side.
Oh, right. Oh, okay. Yeah,
And
yeah.
then in the Bronx, I was living on Kingsbridge, which is by Fordham Road, not even like a 5 minute walk. So
Gotcha.
yeah, I love New York. I mean, it's nothing better. I think for some people they feel like not everybody, but I might dog LA a lot, but it's only because you know in New York for me, a lot of people who are actors are actually doing it out there, busting tables. Then
Right.
they working to get an agent or have an agent. They constantly working. And then like for me being out here, it just seems like everybody likes the idea of being an actor, but don't want to do the work to be an actor. And
Right.
I
But there are
think,
a lot of people hustling out there too,
oh yeah,
working,
absolutely.
working
But
their butts off.
it's just majority of the people that
Right.
I've met so far is
Right.
just like, I want to be rich and famous instead of let's work together. Let's put a reel together, something. Let's collab and get
Well,
some work done.
those are
So,
the people you avoid, you know,
yeah,
you
absolutely.
avoid them, you know, that seems pretty easy. You're a hardworking dude. I'm sure you can avoid those people all the time if you need, it just seems like there's a lot of people hustling out in LA, man.
It is.
You
It's a very hustling culture. I will give LA that. I mean, people
you
will
got to work
find any
hard in
way.
this business, you know. You got to work. That's like, you know, when I can feel when I slack too much, like, oh crap, you gotta work hard. You got to figure something else out, you know, because it's
Right.
tough.
Absolutely.
It's tough.
Yeah.
There's
No,
very few. Doesn't matter how high up you get. There's very few people that can are set. Almost
absolutely.
everybody else, all sorts of famous people you see on TV are still hustling, still, you know, still auditioning, still going for it. You know, it's a grind for
Everybody.
99.9. Yeah, really. Other than that little sliver at the top.
Yeah. That basically just rolls out of bed and people like, hey, I wrote a role for you in this movie. You want
Yeah.
it? So, um,
Did
how
you
has
did you act when you were younger? Did you what how old were you when you started?
I started acting around, I would say 13, freshman year of high school. I
Uh,
went to Performing Arts High School by Columbia University.
okay.
I don't know. Do you know Epic Theater Ensemble?
No. Is
No.
that a
Okay.
theater?
Yeah, it's like a non-for-profit theater company. They
Okay.
actually won an award from Michelle Obama for the work that they do. So they go into schools, mostly performing arts schools, and they bring trained actors to come in and teach you about acting. Then we'll do plays off Broadway. So they actually get a venue on like 42nd Street,
Uh,
invite people, family, friends, and strangers come in. So I started doing that. Then I went to school, college for theater. Um, I got my first experience on the Incoherence, which is why I always talk highly about it because that was like my first experience on the
right.
TV and film side because I'm more
Right.
theater trained. And then yeah, ever since then it's been pretty much TV and film because the acting is so much different. So for me, having been training in theater for so long, it really took me a long time to really understand TV and film acting.
I'm still
Um,
figuring it out.
yeah, it's tough. I mean,
I feel like with the like the problem is too, like for me, I overthink it for sure. Like
mhm,
when you're doing theater, you feel completely free. You know, it's very you can be a little too big and you can like it's not. But there's something about film that sometimes I get it. And some like I had a couple auditions recently for some good stuff, and I knew they weren't great because I was a little out of practice. I didn't feel super comfortable. You know, if it, in with the theater, you can kind of let loose a little bit more. You know.
right,
But
right,
you got also
yeah,
got to figure out a way to do it in front of the camera as well in the audition room, which is not always the easiest thing to do. You know.
it's tough. It's a skill. I mean, skill to audition, skill to actually do the craft. I mean, everything involved in this business is a skill,
I think the
and
hardest thing to do is audition. I think you know, like you know, it's sometimes it goes feels like it goes well, obviously, and sometimes it doesn't. But it's always like you know, because
yeah,
it's
oh,
you got to put yourself in a weird place for like 5 minutes. It's not even like a theater rehearsal where you're kind of going at it for an hour or two. You know,
right.
you got to you know. So yeah, and it all has to just kind of flow.
Yeah, oh man, audition is the absolute worst. I mean, fortunately and unfortunately, the pandemic kind of ruined plans for me. But I've to go from auditioning for like student films to auditioning for Netflix and Hulu and these big companies, it's like it's kind of mind blowing. But at the same time, when you get in these casting offices, you feel prepared, and then when you actually do the audition, you like, oh man, I really could have just like focused in. And it's something that even to this day, I've been doing it for 10 years now, at least acting wise. But I've been doing it for 10 years. And there's times where like the audition just don't go the way I envision it. And that's honestly the biggest obstacle. Booking work isn't the hardest. It's actually showing that impression in the first 5 minutes that you
Right.
have. That's
Right.
very key.
You know what I started doing though, right before the pandemic? I'm like, you know what? I wasn't really pushing like things at a actors access and backstage, like shorts and whatever little parts and indies. And I was like, why aren't I doing this? You know, just to do it, just so like when you're getting the bigger auditions, you're more prepared, you're more relaxed, you've been doing it for a while. And I got into a little bit of groove right before it and booked a couple of things, and then bonk, it was over. So I want to get back to that where you start to feel more loose, you know.
Right,
But
right.
it's tough to just be by yourself working on it. You always feel like you need some like like just walk around doing. I'm gonna walk around doing monologues and like, but is it just to keep my brain active with the stuff? But it's tough to really just kind of practice by yourself, you know.
Yeah, you can answer this truthfully. For me, that's one of the biggest reasons why, I've taken classes, I went to school for it, but I realized that at some point the classes really, they'll help you find two certain skills, but I think there's nothing better than getting actual hands-on experience.
Right.
I've learned more about acting. I'll give a shout out to my coach, Anthony Abel. He kind of helped me in my early transition, but I noticed that I really wasn't getting it until I actually started getting work and actually being on set and understanding what to bring to the character, what they were looking for.
Mhm.
I personally think, not that classes are useless. I'm probably going to get hate for this. I don't think classes are useless, but I think you can do all the classes that you want, but unless you actually do the work on a professional set, then you won't really actually grow as an actor. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I think it's I was listening to John Leguizamo on the Mark Maron podcast. He was still talking about how he has a coach. I know Pacino had worked with a coach forever. Like maybe he still does, but I remember even hearing like Fred in the last 10 or 15 years saying, I still work with a coach. So um, that's what I want to start doing more, because I feel like I'm flying a little blind, lately. So I want to start doing that more. But yeah, the classes is just is practice. It's just that's what it's for. It's you're going for it, dude. So you don't have to worry about that.
Right.
You're doing it. You're just using it as practice. And I kind of want to figure out a way to get back to that, or at least just where it gets back to normal, where you could audition more, even for smaller stuff, just for the practice.
Right. Yeah, that's the biggest issue right now with this pandemic. I was actually going to ask you, since we're talking about it, how has the pandemic impacted you, whether it's positive or negative, or did it make, spark a change for you mentally?
Yeah, I mean, nothing. This is a before and after moment, right? This is like 9/11. There's life before 9/11. There's life, not life after 9/11. Like everybody's brains, nothing is going to be the same. Zero. You know, I've been writing this script about where I'm from in New Jersey, and I realized I have to completely wait until we get out of this to even how to register what is going on. It's
Yeah.
just bananas. So I think part of it for me is it's very hard to be stationary. Like my kids are here, we're here, we live in a nice apartment, but it'd be great to have some more room to run, but whatever. I'm obviously not complaining. People are way, way worse off than I
That's
am. But
right.
just, for everybody, it's just a mental strain and the strife in the country. And it's just like, you're just getting pounded on all sides. It's just been so many tragic deaths, and there's been very little good news. So one of the things I've been trying to take from this is just that you got to let more shit go. You got to let, like, life is short. If you're happy,
Absolutely.
you're doing your thing, you got friends and family, like that's all that really matters. Possessions, money, like considering what people have lost in the last 8 months, that some people are going to be dealing with this the rest of their lives, what this thing is doing to them. Apparently, I just had a friend that just got it. So yeah, it's a total before and after moment. So I'm trying to focus on some positive, what are the positives? What can we take the positives of this? Like, outdoor dining, I think, especially, I know there's more in LA, obviously, because of the weather, but outdoor dining from New York has been fantastic. It's really added a whole nother dimension to the city. Like they figured out things for theater where they want to do more online events for theater. And they're saying, we should have done this before. This is going to be part of the future of theater. Be more people. It'll be more accessible to people. One of my wife's best friends just did a one-man show out of her theater company up in Michigan.
Nice.
That was on a one-woman show. Excuse me, obviously one-woman show.
Right.
Um, and that broadcast over the theater company's website. So just things like that. Like I'm trying to focus on what can we, you know, what's it can't be all bad that comes out of this. What's good.
And I
And
think, yeah, you.
no, that's it. That's it. I've rambled enough.
I think that's very key, and that's not even just about acting. I think in general, because I was talking about my younger brother about that. He was like, "How have you lost your mind?" And for me, you know, I'm thankful that my agents are still working hard to get me stuff, but I realized that I can't just be sitting around waiting for the next best thing to happen. I can't focus on the negative. So, doing this podcast, doing YouTube, taking care of my health and fitness, that kind of helps me get through this rough time. And I think this actually going to this is going to bridge us into the controversy topics that we're going to talk about. But I just think there's so much negative energy in this world right now from politics and from COVID that it's just spiraling out of control. Now, people think, just a little backstory. I think so. A lot of people, and I'm sure you might agree, that Trump didn't do a good job with COVID, right? People think that he didn't do it soon enough, he didn't do it fast, quick enough, and stuff like that. But there's still people out here who think COVID is a conspiracy theory. It's a way for the government to take away our rights. They don't want to. They don't want to wear face masks. I see people complaining about Governor Cuomo imposing more restrictions because cases are going up. California the same way. Um, what do you think about Trump's handle on COVID, or do you think COVID is some government cooked up conspiracy?
Oh no, it's real. I mean, it's just crazy that anybody would think it's not real. I mean, all you have to do is just watch the videos of the healthcare workers crying, like, please take us seriously. That's all you need to see,
Right.
And I don't get it. It blows my mind. I was extremely proud of the city. We got destroyed in the beginning. There was definitely some missteps by Cuomo and de Blasio, but we were going to get hammered anyway because there were so many flights in. Forget about the China ban. There were still planes coming in from China, but all that travels from Europe, all those travels from Europe as well. So, even if you play this thing out perfectly, you still would have got New York City would have got hammered.
Yeah.
We really pulled it together. We really went from, like he said, worst to first, and I've been more proud to be a New Yorker lately than ever, just because of that. Everybody pulled together. Obviously not every single, but
Yeah,
you would
but-
see 85, 95% of people wearing masks, doing what they have to do, and they crushed the curve. And it just, between people getting a little complacent and other people coming in from other states, it was just, they knew it was just bound to go up. So I just don't get it, man. I just, I just don't get it. It's all, it's just delaying us getting back to any sort of normalcy. We really should, if everybody just do what they're supposed to do, right? We should all be able to function. We still have school, go to a restaurant. We're still going to have to be restrictions, but it seems illogical. But we're not all playing with the same set of facts these days. We have to start all agreeing on the same facts, and then we can have a debate about what's the best to do about those facts. But we don't even agree on the facts anymore. It's bonkers.
100%, and that's been my biggest issue right now with the election. And whether you hate Trump or not, I think people always misconstrue me as a huge Trump supporter because I defend him. But in the case of COVID, I say this to people. Okay, Trump made a good point. He closed the travel from China. Joe Biden thought it was xenophobic for him to do that. But during the election, he's saying he didn't do it enough. He didn't do it quick enough. So then you have that. Then you have people saying that, 200. First of all, don't you find it ironic that ever since Joe Biden became elected, well, not officially yet, but technically he is, that they stopped talking about the 250,000 deaths? I think it was just a way to scare people. The deaths, I don't believe the facts because the numbers are all skewed. They're saying 250,000, but a lot of these people who are coming out talking about family members dying from COVID are dying from diseases like heart attacks, and they had respiratory failure even before COVID started, and the COVID kind of just amped it up. But they didn't die from COVID. But what's happening is a lot of hospitals are slapping COVID because they get an incentive to do that. So I don't even know if 200. I'm not saying 260 people didn't die. I'm just saying I don't know if that is the accurate number of COVID. I think it's just a way for them to scare people, to get people all riled up, just until, just to get what they want. And then bam, you don't hear about it no more. I mean, I just personally think this is just not a conspiracy theory. I just think people are playing games with COVID to benefit them. Am I, maybe I'm going crazy here. I mean, what do you think?
No, I believe the statistics.
Okay.
I don't know why anybody would have a reason to lie about it. I'm sure if they gave you the data, it would be there. And These, all these people who passed away from pre-existing conditions, it was COVID induced that put them over the finish line into death.
True,
So,
true. Yeah.
um, yeah, I just think there's been a scary disavowal of science in the last, like, say 20 years. It's just like whatever the scientists say, don't, like, even with climate change, it's like, well, it's not just the liberals that drink the water and breathe the air, who pretty much
Yeah.
everyone does.
Hmm.
That's really scary to me. Like, why is science not, the government doesn't even barely invest in research and science anymore. That's why, so much of what happened in post-World War II was all these wonderful inventions, came through that time, because there was a lot of research going on that the government was funding.
Right.
So I don't know. This lack of belief in science lately, I find a little scary. In terms of misinformation, everybody misinforms. Like, it's not just a product of one side of the aisle. Not everybody definitely puts out their version of the events and skews the numbers sometimes. I have my opinion who does it more, but honestly, with these numbers, I mean, even if it's a few thousand off, I mean, I don't know. I believe the numbers, but I don't think it's like it's actually 80,000 less. I do think the number is pretty close. Yeah, the number is what it is. That's what I believe.
Yeah, I just think, because I was watching a video where a nurse in LA, she was talking about how that they get incentivized if someone in their hospital dies from COVID. And that just kind of, I'm not saying that people haven't died from COVID. I have asthma, so I know it's serious, but I just don't know how accurate they're telling us the truth, because one day they're telling us it's not that deadly, then the next day they're throwing this number out and saying that it is deadly. Then next time you don't have to wear a face mask. Now next time you do have to wear. I feel like if we all just really just got together, figured out what the problem is, and really came down, because when you giving people all this different information, people aren't really soaking it up. Now, for me, and I'm sure for you, we pay attention and we understand what's going on. But for a lot of people, which is why I don't like being a Democrat or Republican, is because they make you pick a side and then you have to agree with whatever that side says. So Republicans are more for opening the country, Democrats is for closing the country. Now, that could be true, that could be false, but that's just a narrative they put. And for me, I'm sure you are a Democrat, and I'm not taking away from you. But I think was the biggest problem we have right now is the fact that they're putting these two sides against each other. Oh, Trump supporters are terrible. Biden supporters just burn down the buildings and steal stuff. And I mean, you see the violence in the street. Just last week there was 2 instances where Proud Boys was beating up a Antifa member. Then the Antifa member was shown beating up a couple walking down the street because they had a Trump supporter hat. So how do you feel about? Actually, let me rephrase that. What is your honest opinions about Donald Trump? I'm curious.
Oh, I think he's horrible, and even, but I'm also a little bit of a political junkie, and I know that he hasn't failed at everything. I know there isn't. I know that the policies put forward, there were, I mean, obviously I think it's a lot less than most, but there are some I could see, okay, the prison reform bill, obviously that was a good thing, like the CARES Act, when they put it in, actually worked. It kept the economy going.
Right.
I have to say, like, I do wonder why we are still in Afghanistan and Iraq. I mean, I don't think this is the right time for him to do it, but I question why do we really need to be after 20? Like, I question. So even though I think he's a horrendous person, and it's such a poor example for our country, I can still say, but I also know there's a few things here that I can get with, and
right.
Part of that is because I grew up in a conservative area. I mean, yeah, I'm a liberal. I vote Democrat most of the time, pretty much all the time, because I don't really understand the Republican Party that much. But I don't think the Democrats are perfect. I come from a conservative family. I still talk to all my friends in Jersey. Most are conservative. We hang out, we argue, we get past it. It's not a big deal. Then we're talking about sports or girls or some other stupid stuff,
Yeah,
So
right.
I forgot how to talk to each other, and the person that I get into the most political fights with, sadly to say, is my father. It's like, it's bad. Like, why are we He's about to turn 80 in a couple weeks. Like, why am I fighting with him? You
Over.
know, my sisters and I recently said, we got to stop. Like, I gotta cut it out. I'm sorry. Like, we're all getting a little, because we're all nuts. Everybody's nuts right now. We're caged
Right.
animals. We're all crazy. Like, this has been such a trying, shitty year for literally every person on the planet except for billionaires. You know, so we're just
Yeah.
we're just at each other. So I I see some of the frustrations of Trump voters. You know, I'm more, I can listen more to conservatives, people who are conservative,
Right.
than the Republican Party. Like Republican Party, I don't understand at all. But for what I don't, their agenda is bizarre to me because I don't really see how they're trying to move the country forward. However, when you talk to conservatives, people who are conservative, they tell you, they let you know, their gripes to me seem, some of them seem real. Their ideas seem, some of them seem real, that I can get with, not real, but that I can get with. So yeah, we gotta talk to each other. I don't think who I vote for is perfect. I don't think the other side is doesn't get
Yeah.
anything wrong. We got to get back to talking to each other.
Yeah. And I think that's you hit it right in the head,
If I
talking
could say
to
one
each
more
other.
thing,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
politics is also becoming showbiz, and I know it, and it's sucking us all in.
Hmm.
And we got to like drop the showbiz part and just say, give us the facts. Is this policy working? Is it not working? And stop with the drama around it. It'd be brutal for both sides about what's working and what's not.
Absolutely. Politicians are turning into WWE wrestlers. It's,
Yeah.
uh, for me, because for some reason, people are so fascinated with throwing this Trump supporter label out like it's a drop of water. I tell people, look, for me, I was just given two candidates. I'm not Republican. I'm not conservative. I'm not Democrat. I'm just a guy that I got two options right here. And I could talk about the reason why, but for me, I just feel like politics in general is it's just scummy. I was watching a video
It's sad,
about,
right? It's sad. It's sad that most people think that.
and
It's sad.
it is sad that I
It's
had to
their own,
even,
it's their own fault. It's not,
right.
you're completely valid for thinking that. It's their own fault.
Right. And I was watching a video because for me, I grew up in a Democratic home. And I hate this belief that just because you're a black man, you have to be a Democrat. And that was the biggest reason why I turned me off for Biden, was the fact that he went up on air and thought it was funny to say, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black.
Yeah, I just
And
say stupid shit sometimes.
yeah, I'm not saying Trump ain't no saint. I'm not saying that. I just think that Democrat, like with the Chelsea Handler thing, had to remind 50 Cent that he's black, because I don't like the mentality that just because you're a minority that you have to vote one party. This is
Well,
why Democrat, you want to say something?
no, go ahead, go ahead,
Uh,
and then I'll talk.
okay, I'm not saying everybody's race baiting, but I feel like there's just a systematic way of, because historically, and I only know this because I'm just legally allowed to even consider voting, but historically, what blacks and minorities voted for Democrats like 95% of the time. And it just felt like, for me, ever since Obama came, that every year they do the same thing. They invoke fear in you. They make it seem like they're going to do something for the black community. I'm not saying that they're bad people, but I'm just speaking from a minority perspective, that every 4 years they give us promises and things, and then they leave and nothing to show for it. And for a lot of people, a lot of minorities feel like Trump came in, with his work with HBCUs and getting funding for black communities around certain areas, that he was actually trying to do something to help. I'm not saying they're right or wrong. I'm just saying, for me, I just hate that mentality that just because you're black, you have to vote that way. So
Well, I think that was a big wake up call for the Democrats, right? Because something like 20% of black men voted for Trump, and yeah, they're definitely starting to get to the point where, oh, if you hate yourself if you don't vote for us, you're a
right,
self-hating black person or whatever, like and it's a lot of it, and I think a lot of this, what they can criticize about, these sort of like privileged white woke kids that who are so who are so concrete in their head that they can't, they're, when you're young, you're so passionate, and my
yeah,
idea is the right way, and it's a little too, and I think that maybe there was some resentment there too, like having these white woke privileged kids telling people how they should think, and I think that really hurt. think that's part of the appeal for Trump. They want to be like, fuck you to these people. Like these, these kids running around the divide is, they're sick of being told what to do. And they do have a point, just how the cultures look down upon it. I do it myself sometimes when I get frustrated with that area of the country with some of the policies that they want to put through, and it's not good. I gotta stop doing that myself, but it's just everybody's confused.
Right.
Our heads are spinning, and like we were saying, we have to get together, got to get together somehow.
And the biggest way for us to do that is to stop relying on social media and certain media companies, because I've watched the news over the years. I know Fox is a right leaning uh channel. I know CNN is a left leaning channel. I think if everybody just gave the facts. I don't care if you hate the guy, support the guy, don't matter. Just give us the real facts and let us come up to our conclusion. My only problem with politics is that they put you in these two boxes. They force feed you information and feed you a narrative about the other side that you shouldn't go over there. And they put people, I'm not saying it's all the media's fault, but when people are so gung-ho about politics, I'm not. I really could care less. But and that'll probably come as I get older, when I have to start worrying about taxes and all that. I'll probably care a little more. But for people who are passionate about that, if they are very hardcore on CNN, whatever CNN says is gospel. And whatever Fox say, if you're a Republican or conservative, is gospel. And there's just no conversation being had. You say something, they want to shut it down. It's like hitting a brick wall. That's the problem with both sides. Just they rely so much on certain news sources, don't get the whole story, and then it's a clash in the heads. Nobody want to talk and sit down, and it's frustrating.
The information is out there to learn the facts. It's out there. I mean, if New York Times and Washington Post, these big major newspapers, they make some mistakes, but overall, that is in terms of the actual facts, and they give you a statistic about something going. That is what's going on. I mean, it's been verified many times over. Of course, they get some things wrong, but for the most part, those are the facts. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just so crazy to me. We do live in this crazy reality where it seems like there are two separate facts for everything.
Absolutely,
like we discussed before. And until we get to that, it's another thing about coming together. But until we get to that, I don't know how we're going to fix any of these sides. And also, personally, part of the problem is too, it's not viable right now. Like a major third party push it's not viable. The money isn't there. It would take decades to. I think people would love a third party. There's many people, frustrated people, that would love a third option, a viable third option.
I know,
it's really hard to get off the ground. The two parties are so entrenched that a third party is really, really hard to get off the ground. You would need to get some major players to just say, we're done with these two. We're going to start our own thing. And then, I think it'd be good for sure.
For me, I have people do think that only having one president is a problem. That's a whole conversation for another day, because I'm not even sure how that would. Yeah, like some people think one president is not enough. Like, how can one person run a whole country? They think we need two or three other people.
But that's what the other branches of government are for, right?
I'm just like the beacon for the people that can't speak. Gotcha. I just think I don't have a problem with people being Republican or conservative or a Democrat. I just want people to be open-minded to to hand each other, opposed to saying, well, this way is the right way and your way is the wrong way. And this is why I hate when people call me a Trump supporter, because people always associate Trump supporters as racist. Now, even if I was a Trump supporter, I'm not. I mean, I'm a black man in America. How can I be racist? But it's just such a stigma being called a Trump supporter that people are getting hurt out in the street. I was watching a video where an older man was riding his bike and a bunch of Antifa members pushed him over and started kicking him in his head, pushed his bike, stole his wallet. I'm just like, is this where we coming to? I know, Trump supporters are doing the same thing, but it's just like, why? Why is this such a divide? And the problem is because the media and the news.
And the government really needs to step in and help people out. The jobs aren't there, so you gotta, I mean, in my opinion, I think, with that CARES Act, like I talked about, that was all the money that got flooded in after the pandemic started. That work, I mean, you got, people are, there are 3-mile lines apparently at some of these food banks around the country, people just line up in their cars for hours and hours just to get some food. Like, government's got to step in and help these people.
Right. And I don't even care who's president come January. If Trump, finds a way to sneak in, they need to pass a stimulus bill now, because I'm seeing homeless people out the woodwork. And
Yeah.
I'm not even just talking about people that have been on the street for forever. I'm talking about people that have kids that were making $200,000 a year and can't even find a job. Unemployment is holding their money because of fraud from people stealing and scamming the system. And the government is just chilling. That is my biggest reason why I just think politics is all nonsense, because people are starving. People don't know when their next meal is coming from. People can't afford to even put a book in their kid's backpack. Every time, it's been 4 months now, and I will salute Trump for passing that executive order to for that short term period. But they talk for like 2 weeks, can't find an agreement, go on recess for a whole nother month, come back, can't find an agreement, go on recess for a whole nother month. People are losing homes. People can't buy food, can't even buy a bag of bread.
Mitch McConnell, right? Mitch
Yeah,
McConnell. Get him on
yeah.
the podcast, dude. Give him an earful, and then maybe you could change his mind, because that guy seems to be the impediment to any sort of progress on this issue. Yeah, there's never doesn't seem to be any ever problem for a humongous tax cut. Where for mostly the super well off, but with this kind of stuff, it's always a struggle. I mean, that's me, but that's the conservative side. How big do you want government to get? That's always the push and pull, right? The liberals always, the left is always pushing for more government. The right is always pushing for less government. There's always that tension.
I didn't even think about that. You made a good point. I didn't even think about that. I mean, this is the time where that idea is, I understand it, but at this time when we have millions of unemployed people, we had to put the differences aside. People are struggling. I mean, people losing homes at an alarming rate. The real estate is plummeting because people can't afford to buy, homes. People aren't going to car dealerships anymore. People can't spend money because they don't have no money. And Mitch McConnell, I get it. The deficit is high, but man, I mean, it's going to be even worse when, let's say,
kids are starving.
People are starving. I mean, this, I was actually reading a report like Nancy Pelosi. At first, I thought maybe she was going high. Then she's part to blame a little bit, because I think the discontent is that Mitch McConnell is being really cheap, because I seen what he's proposing. I'm like, come on, man, that's not doing nothing. And then I think on her side, I feel like a lot of people feel that she's padding it with different things that really don't need to be in there. We just need to focus on helping the people right now. So look, pass the stimulus check if that's the issue. Boost unemployment, help small businesses, do the PPP thing, do what they did with the CARES Act. Just roll that through again. That worked pretty well. That pretty much helped people for many months. But this just sitting around, can't come to agreement, and they want to go on Cancun and drink a pina colada. It's just not right. It's just it's just not right.
So
And
Percy, as a Bronx boy, take away the business. How do you like California living? Don't, like, just forget about the business side, but just the actual living. How do you like it?
living wise, I prefer New York. I think LA is great. The weather's nice. But it's just not the same. I went to New York in July for unfortunate circumstances, but I went twice.
I think I know what you're talking about, and I'm very, very sorry to hear that.
That's fine. Thank you. I appreciate it. And even with the lockdown, I had so much fun. So I mean, just riding the Revels, taking the A train again, just going to Central Park, like this is such a commodity. There's so many people everywhere. You get to meet different people. It's very easy to meet friends. Here, it seems like every time you want to go somewhere, you got to schedule it because traffic is all over the place and people don't want to commit to anything and
People compare the two places. They're nothing alike. I mean, they are.
nothing.
In some, there's a lot of the same amenities, great restaurants, great art, all that stuff. But other than that, they're so different. They're so different.
Oh, wait. I encourage it. I encourage people who want to move out here, but a lot of people don't want to be here anymore. A lot of people are fleeing out the woodworks, especially with the pandemic, because there's no reason to be here.
So
It's
we were out there for the this is the thing about LA, right? So when we were out there for the film festival last year, right around those, like the first week of November, right around this time,
uh-huh.
I had a day, an empty day before I was going home. So I went to downtown Los Angeles because my friend told me to go to the last bookstore and this big food court across the street. So I went down there, both really cool. But dude, I was stepping over rivers of pee. Like it was just, it was like I was playing hopscotch down the sidewalk. It was
Yeah.
pandemic, dude. It was so gross. And I was like, you know what? I'm getting out of here. I'm going right to Malibu. And I just Googled a hike, and then you're in Malibu, and it's unbelievable. It's gorgeous. And that's like the crazy thing about LA. Like I realized that when I was there last time, like this is what I love about LA. I love the beachy part. I like Malibu, Venice, Santa Monica. I love that. I love all that up the coast. The city stuff, I realized I can get that in New York. That's what makes LA. That's the uniqueness of it. The right on the water there and those mountains. It's just so freaking. It's nice.
Yeah, I haven't made my way over to the beach. I mean, I went to
I grew up by the
beach, but
I grew up 2 blocks from the bay and two miles from the ocean. So the beach is in my blood. So I'm always searching out the water. I think that's why.
I mean, LA is not completely bad. I just think for someone who's as social as I am, it's just not a good fit because everything's so spread out.
Right.
Um, and it's just I don't even think the traffic is bad. New York traffic is way worse in my opinion. I just think that because there's not a good
Public
tra-
transportation.
public transportation, that's becomes the issue. And for me, relationships and all that stuff too is just like I feel like there's a very big culture here where people only want to be friends with you if you could do something for them. I was talking about this in an earlier episode where you know people know. I mean, people know me. I mean, I my work. People know that
You're a
I'm an actor or
gregarious
whatever.
guy.
Yeah, and then the hair obviously sticks out.
That's
But
right.
so my buddy
That's a
Odysseus.
trademark, man.
Oh, it is. I mean, people don't. My mom don't understand. She like cut that off. I'm like,
But
no,
honestly, even just from a acting headshot audition standpoint, like having your own look these days, because it's not like the old days where you had to look a certain trim way. Now everything is on the table,
right?
So just be yourself. I think that's you're probably not going to get called in for a corporate lawyer anytime soon. But
Yeah.
there's probably plenty of other things you'll be able to go in for too. What are you? You're like 23, 24?
Yeah, 24. Yeah.
Right. Dude, you're like, you're supposed to be the fun college, like fun college guy or like some crazy artist guy, like whatever. Like, those sort of things will probably open up with their own unique look.
Yeah, and I was talking to a buddy, Odysseus. He had a show on Netflix for a while, and he was like, "Have you ever thought about cutting your hair?" And I was like, "No, because this is not it's not the same era, where you have to have the short hair. All your hair has to be in perfect order. People are willing to work with you if you have the professionalism with you. I'm not saying you have to be the best actor in the world, but if you're coachable, you're workable and you're professional, they'll work with you. I booked plenty of work.
Have the casting directors ever said, Percy, you should cut your hair?
No, my agent even haven't said I should cut it.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah,
Yeah. Then don't until they tell you. Percy, it's time to cut the hair.
That's what I'm saying. I think
let them tell you that.
Oh, I mean,
they would have told you already. They would have totally told you already.
And that's for me. I didn't do it to kind of just be like this attention-seeking guy that I need everybody to look at me and ask me how I did my hair this way. I felt like I was getting tired of seeing everybody with the same short hair.
Right.
Everybody got the fade and all that stuff. And I'm like, look, I've booked work, braided my hair, put my hair in a ponytail, and I made it work. I don't think I had to just cut my hair just to put myself in a box just because I want to look like every other black person at a casting call. So yeah, I won't book certain roles, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's workable. People have asked me to do something different with it. I've done something different with it, and I mean, I'll still I get auditions way more than I ever thought with this hair. So I'm
Right.
like, hey, I'll keep
Right.
it going.
And ultimately, I feel like as I get older, you start to realize you need to be the best version of you in the room. And if that's the best version of you, that's what works the best for you. That's what you should do. Like if that's the way you feel the best, the most confident, like boom,
Yeah,
that's what you should do. It's all about the confidence, right? Like you learn that's the number one thing is like it's the confidence, like when you're confident in an audition, even if you don't get it, you're like, I still nailed that for they're gonna remember me. And then
yeah,
sometimes you walk out, you don't feel as confident. You're like, it's always about confidence and being relaxed. I mean, even on stage, I mean, we're getting back talking about auditions now, but just being relaxed,
right.
confident, confident. Yeah, Los Angeles is a very interesting place. It's not for me. I'm definitely a pretty hardcore Northeast guy, but I always enjoy going there. I have a lot of friends there. So it's almost like being like, you know, every night when I was there, I was hanging out with people. It was just super fun. For me, it's a whole different, I wish I would get called out there for work at some point just because it's a fun place to go, and just get more in the industry out there. But, New York is not, it's much better than it used to be back when I first started, when there was 3 or 4 TV shows. Now there's 60 or whatever.
Oh wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. But, you're getting great experience out there too. It's good to see the other side, get
Yeah,
out of New York. You're from New York. It's not the worst thing to get out of here for a little bit, even for, you know, I mean,
I
I
d-
know, I also know people who thought they were going to be like people originally. How long have you been there now?
a year, a little over a year.
Right. And I've heard people like it takes even longer than that to get fully acclimated, but
It does.
um,
I haven't even touched
right,
15% of LA, and
right.
honestly, for
And
me,
if you're making contacts out there, even if you came back to New York at some point, you'll still have those contacts when you're in New York because you can put yourself on tape and easily fly out there and crash with friends or whatever.
yeah, and
You know?
for me, this business is all networking. At the end of the day,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
this is why I tell people that you can do all the free work that you want, but at some point, the only way you're gonna climb up the ranks is if you start making those steps. So for me, my
Yeah,
hair is just like a calling card for a lot of people. I'll
right.
just be walking down the street like, "Hey, man, I have this opportunity. You want to do a photo shoot?" Hey, fine. I don't know who this. I don't do everything on the off chance that they know somebody, but it's good to put yourself out there. So for me, if my hair is the way to get there, then hey, so I'll go ahead first.
Yeah. And look, they're going to tell you, they'll tell you when you should cut it. They'll tell you when
Right.
it's hurting you.
Yeah, and I'm sure when I get into my 30s, start looking at marriage and maybe kids, I probably want to be rocking this. But I mean, if it's a money maker and it makes me money, then I'll continue this until my hair fall off. But we'll see. Before we get right back into the action, thank you for tuning in to another charismatic episode. Um, if you are interested on being on the Prince of Fresh Air podcast, you can hit me up on Instagram at Mr. No Days Off Percy. Again, that's Mr. No Days Off Percy. You can also go to anchor.fm/ the Prince of Fresh Air, the homepage. You can also find my social media links there. And if you're also interested in sending in voice messages or donating, you can also do that as well. I would love to use the proceeds to go to a local food bank or a warmer house, and I can take up to $10,000. I'm not gonna complain. But yeah, thank you for tuning to another episode. Let me know your thoughts and opinions, what I can improve, or something that you enjoy, and let's get right back to the action, shall we? Oh man, this has been good. I know it's getting late for you because it's 3 hour difference.
All
Any
right.
any
Oh,
any
I'm normally a kind of a night owl, but
uh,
semi now.
same. I mean, unemployment kind of helps, but I don't even go to sleep until like 5, 6, 7 in the morning now
Oh,
because
wow.
yeah, I love it. I mean, I stay up, I'll edit the podcast or whatever, or
Right.
I'll just stay up and do other things that I got to do.
Up
But
until the time I was like 35, on the weekends I was still up a lot of times 3, 4, 5 in the morning. Then you're married and kids and that changes. But yeah, I had kids at my first kid at 36. So, but I was always late. You know, always
Yeah.
up super late. But
You know why?
that's a lot of artists, right? A lot of artists like to stay up late. Interesting things happen in the nighttime.
I mean, unless you're into more the stuff that do daytime, yeah. Like I work at night. I work until like after midnight. I have auditions that come in at 8 o'clock at night, and I have to get them done by 10 in the morning. So I'll stay up for that. It's very interesting. I love acting, but I think for a lot of people, and the reason why I asked you the question about is it a major difference from being on a big TV show compared to a smaller production was because a lot of people don't know how to handle that pressure. It's tough. I mean, you never know when work is coming. Then when you do get work, it's a very demanding job. Not demanding if you love it, but 14 hours on a set and stuff like that. It's tough. I mean, it's a very tough, but
For
if you
whatever
love
reason,
it,
I'm
it's
way more
fun.
nervous at auditions than I am on set. I'm set. I'm like, I'm here. They want me here. I'm prepared. You got multiple takes. Normally, almost every director I've ever worked with puts you ease very quickly. You're like, all right, they want you to succeed. You're here to succeed. So when I'm on those sets, especially like the TV sets, I'm pretty relaxed. Obviously, you want to do well, and there's always some nerves. But I always find I'm way more tense in the audition room.
Oh, same.
You
Because you
know,
only got a smaller window to
right?
impress
And
somebody.
they want you there. You've been hired. They want you there. They want you to succeed. So yeah,
But
that's going to be one of my my projects. Going forward is just to continue to improve the auditions.
right. So that's that. I was actually going to ask you. So what's the future looking like for you? What is something that you want to accomplish or a goal that you have in mind?
Well, I definitely want to write and produce another movie. So
Okay.
one of the good things about the incoherence for us is that people see that you can complete a movie, you can make a movie, and we got distribution. So there's a track record ahead. So if I get a good script in the right space, I can go forward to people and say, hey, we have a bit of a track record here. Check out this movie. And I've already we shot a lot of it in New Jersey. A lot of my buddies from New Jersey were gave me money for it, and were integral, just helping get it off the ground. They were extras in the movie. I think they were there the day you were at the Maxwell's, when we were at Maxwell's in Hoboken. I had friends there at extras at that. But
Oh,
I met some contacts there, so there might be through friends and people who've seen the movie, there might be an avenue to discuss helping getting in terms of money, hopefully getting it off the ground. So we'll see. But definitely want to write and produce another movie. And I really just want to get better at it, because I'm getting to the point now that it's awesome being on a TV show because it pays and stuff, but it's not not any more important if I did do a show in front of 5 people. I mean, at that point now, it's like I want to do that just as much as this. Like, I want to be in the trenches doing the thing in front of nobody, and that's fine with me right now. Because like we said, because a lot with the TV stuff, at my status, I'm not getting like the juiciest of roles. You're trying to make the best out of a scene or two.
right.
So it's not the meatiest thing. It's when you go to the theater, or maybe a small indie where you actually have more of a character to develop, more of an experience, um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's interesting you said that. That's probably why people like I mean, I've been guilty of it, but people see Nicolas Cage on sci-fi and all these real low budget movies, and people are like, really, Nicolas Cage? I mean, at this point, it's kind of just his thing, but it makes sense now that you break it down like that, because I don't think I've ever talked to somebody who's done, the amount of had the amount of experience as you, who broke it down brief, like that. And it really comes down to freedom. I think when you look at bigger studios, that means bigger budgets, means they have more of a deadline and a crunch time, so you don't get to have as much fun. Yeah, you'll have some fun, but it's not as free flowing as like the incoherence, where you get to laugh, sit back, have a good time, maybe chuck a cold one after, and just let loose, and it's not as tense. And that's probably why some actors find ways to kind of leave the big Hollywood scene and go to the more indie route, do more plays, do more smaller productions, because it's more free control, it's more freedom that comes with it, and it's not as, constrained as, being in the Marvel movie. I'm sure is probably,
Right.
I mean, it's
Well,
probably going to be a little more.
well, the spectacle of those big productions is always so much fun, yeah, so there is, I mean, they're both just as enjoyable because you're like, when you are in those big productions, you're like, wow, okay, this is really, you're seeing all, you're seeing, normally when you're in India, you got 8, 10 people on the crew, maybe 6, here you've got 100, so it's, you're just kind of taking it all in and enjoying it. And like I said, the parts I've had haven't been so big and so complex that you're like really have to be, you're really stressed about or stressed, or you sort of in what you're doing, as opposed to if you're, shooting all day on an indie. But the indies are fun, like you said, because of the camaraderie, you're roughing it, you're in the trenches doing
Right.
it. So it's just, if you love being in that environment, and we do because we're actors, both are going to
Absolutely.
be great. And I am starting to appreciate just more as I get older, just actually just doing it, enjoying
Yeah.
it, doing it, and let the chips fall where they may, and that's the thing. That's one of the things about the pandemic that hopefully I'm going to keep in my head. Is like, just fall back in love with acting and stop worrying about nailing every audition or getting every role. You got to start enjoying this more. And I think when you enjoy it more, that's when more work will come.
Oh, absolutely. I Just to cap it off for me, that's one of the things for me. Like these auditions, it's not even so much that I don't even get mad about booking a job anymore. It's the fact that just being able to go from not even being a thought to having representation and just being in a conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good enough for me. I mean, obviously I want more, but for me, it's you put your best foot forward and you forget about it, because
Right.
I mean, that's
And
one of
you're young,
just
man. You're young. You're single. You got no attachments to anything. You're free to do YouTube videos at 3 in the morning. Like take
that's true. Yeah,
just like do a pot. You're obviously doing what you're supposed to do. You're going out there on every avenue. It's going to pay off. Especially like I said, when you have this personal freedom, like take advantage. That's one of the things I wish I did a little more before I had kids, was take advantage of the access to, now you can grab a phone and do anything.
right.
When I started, it wasn't quite as easy, but that's also not an excuse, like, but you seem like you're right on track where you need to be, it's a process. It's a
It is a
process.
process. It's not. It's
Dude,
not.
I,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
doing it for 17 years before I was on the TV. I had success in voiceovers. That's where I was making my money. That's where I got, but I
Okay.
really didn't start getting any sort of consistent TV auditions until my mid 40s, because I was doing theater. I finally gave up the theater. Like, you got to focus on TV and film. I kept doing little plays, like, trying to get people to come, and that was not the wisest way to do it.
Yeah.
It took me a while to break in, and I'm still trying to break in. But yeah, I've had a little more success the last 5 years. Like you said, you're in the conversation.
That's what it's. I
See,
mean,
you're seeing the bigger casting directors, and they're calling you back more than once, which is good. So
and that's. I mean, at the end of the day, even though it's show business, it's still a business, and at some point, you have to treat it like a business in order
you
for
absolutely
you.
have to treat it like a business, more business than anything else.
Exactly, and I think that's where a lot of actors fail, is that they get so caught up in the glitz and the glamour, they forget that there's still money that is involved with all these productions, and it's still a business. So you can look as good as you want, but if you're not providing that profit that they need, or you're not selling them something that they're looking for, then at the end of the day, they don't need you. And I feel like, yeah,
You're
yeah,
trying to, sell yourself. That's all, at this point, you're just trying to sell yourself. You know,
yeah.
you are the CEO of your own business.
And that's why for me, I always tell people, whether acting or any other profession, have a brand. My hair, the sunglasses, I mean, that's just my thing. And I know what I bring to the table. I know there's certain things I'm not willing to do, or I can't bring myself to do. And that's fine. I mean, eventually I'll probably grow out of it. But it's one of those things where you have to know what your value is, because this is a big thing. Until you're demanded and you're not demanding, then I mean, so
No, no, no one, as very few people can be demanding, or you're
yeah,
out quickly.
unless you're Robert Downey Jr. or
Right.
Tom Cruise, look, you have to go knocking on Netflix door. They're not going to come knocking on your door, and I
Right.
think that's just we could talk about acting all day. We all want to put
Right.
the people to sleep. Any final words? Any where people can find you, or any final thoughts or something that you had?
Um, no, I think
Hey, don't pull
you
the
know.
I'm an older man. I got kids, so I don't got social media. I know you have social
Oh no!
media.
Oh yeah, totally. Oh yeah. JeffAuerActor.com. I'm on Instagram, Jeff 60 Minutes. You know, I'm on Facebook. You know, if you're interested, you go to theincoherence.com. You can. We're on streaming on Epix and Amazon. Um, and you know, just getting back to what we said, just to wrap it up. Yeah, man, we got to talk to each other, right? We just got to talk to. I was looking forward to you because I knew you're an open-minded guy. I actually knew that we didn't agree on everything politically. I think
Right.
some your foot, and that, whatever, man, that's fine. I mean, you know, we need to have more conversations like this. People need, you know, we need to talk, like we said. That's all. And oh yeah, I think I'm going to be. Well, I'm not actually. I shouldn't say that because I'm there. I shot something right before the pandemic. I want
Oh,
to. I wasn't cut
you
before
don't
I
want
say that. I
you don't want
was
to spill the beans. I get you.
zip those lips, man.
On this podcast, I wanted to have you because, like you said, we didn't meet eye to eye on everything. But this podcast is not supposed to be about I only get people that agree with me and
Right.
do it. No, it's about having that conversation, starting that conversation, and having that dialogue. Because even though we might not agree with everything, I'm an open-minded guy. I don't play favorites. I'm just all about learning more and growing more. Even though I'm a young dude, don't mean I have to be very gung ho about something. And I think this is where our country lacks right now is that people are at least my generation is so gung ho about being right about everything that they can't be wrong about anything. So, um,
Right. That's
no,
a bad mix for anybody, regardless. You know, it doesn't matter what you believe, what side you're on. Yeah.
yeah, it's a fun. Oh, actually, I didn't even want to do this, but I don't know. Is it just me or like I love the Marvel movies. I love the Marvel movies, but is it just me or when you see like Chris Hemsworth or Tom Holland and other movies outside of him, it just don't ring right to you? Or maybe I
Well, I think for me, because they're not my generation, I can imagine anybody in anything. I think sometimes when you grow up with something like you're a little more closer to in terms of the demographic to the Marvel movies than me. So yeah, I can totally dissociate one thing from the other.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
because I don't really watch those movies. I mean, I haven't the only one I've seen recently was Black Panther.
Okay.
You know, and I think maybe I saw one or two more, but Black Panther was clearly the best one of the bunch. And I'm like, I don't really need to
Okay.
see any more because I probably shouldn't say. Well, I'm just,
Oh, Jeff.
I know you probably say, no, you see enough superhero movies, especially as a 50-year-old man, you kind of know how it's eventually going to go.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, you know, Black Panther was so different and just literally legitimately a great movie. So that was a can't miss. But yeah, I can separate for sure.
But you know what the problem is about that is because Samuel Jackson, certain other people, they had a career before they went into Marvel, so it's not as hard for them to kind of branch out of it. Tom Holland, Chris Hemsworth, uh, nobody. I mean,
Any big name is going to try to get into one of the DC movies or probably Marvel is the top choice, and then yeah, they all want the money at those, you know.
oh, it pays, and
Right.
but I think that's why a lot of people this is stigma about superhero movies because if let's say they pluck a random guy from obscurity and threw him as, let's say, Batman, right? Nobody's seen him in anything else. So if he goes out and try to do something else, there's a stigma. He only do superhero movies because he didn't have a career before that. So I think that's probably why I think like that. Like I didn't know who Tom Holland was until he played Spider-Man. I didn't know who Chris Hemsworth was until he was Thor. So to see them in other movies is like I'm not writing them off. It's just like, nah, I gotta watch Thor. I can't see you in this, It's good. But it was good to have you, Jeff. I won't keep you because I know you got a family to take care of, and
That's good
um,
to talk to you, man. Thanks for having me.
absolutely.
This is
And
fun.
and I know those shows pay well, so you can afford to pay me $5,000 to be on the show. No,
Yeah,
no joke.
I'll do it. I'll
uh,
Venmo. Can you Venmo $5,000? Is that legal? Do they start getting suspicious if you start doing that?
Look,
I'll send you a box of cash. You don't have to pay taxes.
Oh, even better. Just send it to Chris Hemsworth's house, because just send it to Chris Hemsworth's house, because I'm about to go there right now.
You gonna go party with Thor?
Yeah. See the Avengers. They're actually going to be performing a live reenactment of the movie in my living room, so I gotta get ready for that. You know? But all right, Jeff, I won't keep you, man. It was a pleasure to have you. Thank you for being on here.
Great to talk to you, Percy. Good luck with everything. You're doing what you're supposed to do. Believe me.
Absolutely, and I mean, when that $5,000 come, I'll be all right.
It will. That'll get you through what, a month and a half in LA, maybe. Just expensive fares and zero close to it.
All right, Jeff.
Good talking to you. Enjoy it.
Take it easy. Thank you, Jeff.
Bye-bye.